Let's make a platformer. Before we start, we have to say thank you to all of you who reported in any glitches you found. We really appreciate it. It's so cool to be able to collaborate even through YouTube. Most of the glitches we saw had to do with the size and placement of the hitboxes. And this is mostly what you are going to want to play around with. The first thing we want to do is make the hitboxes visible to us while we play the game. So we will draw the rectangle using Pico 8's built-in function, rect. It takes a minimum of 4 numbers, x1 and y1 for the top left corner, and x2 and y2 for the bottom right corner. So we will need those 4 as variables. Since we are already using local variable names, x1, y1, x2, and y2, let's just add an r to the end of these for rectangle so it's less confusing to us. The code we add here is not going to stay in our game, so let's leave comments to tell us what we can delete when we are done testing. Now let's go to the draw function and draw the rectangle using those variables. And we'll make it white, which is 7. Then we go to the collide map function and set the test variables after we set the real ones and before we change them to tile coordinates. And it's as simple as this. Now we can run the game. And there's our collide map hitboxes around the player based on where we move. Now the other thing that would be nice to see is when the collide map function actually detects a solid map tile and in which direction. So we'll just print a variable to the screen and change it when something collides. Let's call it collide_L for left and start it as no. And do the same for the other 3 directions. Then let's print these to the screen in the draw function. Print direction left, use Shift L to make that symbol. Then we are changing from printing a string to printing a variable. So we use ... and then the variable name. Those double dots tell it to join the 2 together and treat them as one string. If we leave it at that, then it prints in the upper left of the screen, and we won't be able to see it when we run around the map. So let's print it based on where the player is. The next 2 arguments we give to the print function is the x and y. So we can set it to print at player x and player y, and let's subtract from the y so it floats above the player's head. Then just do this for each direction. And a little bit higher each time. Now we just need to update those variables at the moment the collision check happens for the player. That's inside the player update function. And let's find where we check collision. Okay, this is checking collision down. So we add more test code here. Now if collide map direction down is true, then collide D will change to yes. Else, it should go back to no. This might look like a funny way to write it, so let me format it so it's easier to see what is happening. So if collide map down is true, then do all this and set our test variable to yes. And if it's not true, then do this and set it to no. So it's still going to work like this, even when I write it like this. And I'm only writing it this way, so it's very easy to see what is test code, so we can quickly delete it when we are done and not mess up our game. Anyway, I'll just add this test code to each collision check. And change the variable to the correct direction. Alright, now we will be able to see when collision is happening and why. Now let's run the game and recreate the glitches that were reported in. The first thing is, you can stand pretty far to the edge of a tile without falling. And now that we see our collide hitbox below the player, you can see that it is too wide for our small player. Because even though we drew this ninja in an 8x8 pixel sprite, his body is really only 4 pixels wide. So our hitbox under him should better match his real size than matching his full sprite size. The next one is this warping that happens at just the right level. And that has to do with the one line of code used for making sure we don't get stuck in the ground. So we'll have to improve that code. The next one is when we stand between two tiles that have a one tile space. That also has to do with the width of the collide down hitbox. The next one is probably the strangest and only works on a wall of ground tiles, not platforms. If you do it just right, the player can stand on the edge of a wall. The same warping is part of the problem, and so is the wide collide down hitbox. But also, the collide right hitbox is too far to the right, so we'll fix all of those. The next one is when you try to jump up through a one space gap. Now this makes us laugh because Lazy Devs Academy has a great video on why a platformer should not be your first game. And this is exactly one of the problems that he talks about. Check out that video and subscribe to him if you haven't yet. We usually show our students that video because almost all of them want to start with a platformer. And that's why we ended up making this tutorial series, to give you what you want and try to ease your suffering through it a bit. Anyway, we're just going to fix this problem in a simple way by making the collide up hitbox smaller. So it's just a little easier to jump up through single tile gaps. Nothing fancy. Alright, so all of those can actually be fixed with only a few tweaks, at least to the point that we're happy with. But you might want to change it other ways depending on your speed settings, your physics, your player size, and the general feel of your game. Alright, let's start with shortening the width of the collide down hitbox. To do that, we go to the collide map function, where aim down is, and increase the x1, and decrease the x2. And let's see how that looks. Notice how the hitbox is smaller, and we can now fall through one tile wide spaces. But the hitbox is one pixel too far to the right, so let's decrease one more from the x2. That's nice. The next thing we should fix is the right side hitbox. We overlooked that x plus width is one tile too far, so let's bring both x's back one pixel. And now it matches the left side nicely. This placement of the hitbox works well because of our player's speed limit. But if you want your player to move faster than 2 pixels at a time, then you will want to move this hitbox farther in front of your player to match your player's speed. We'll leave that up to the more advanced programmers among you to have fun with. The last hitbox to fix is for aim up. And we'll just match aim down's width, which is the x1 and x2. Next, let's fix the warping effect. That is in player update collide down. And this line of code basically checks the pixel under the player to see if it is the top of a tile. And if it's not, then move the player up as much as it needs to be just above a map tile. That's just what it does, but how the math does that is explained at nerdyteachers.com. So we're actually going to change this from 1 pixel under the player to 2 pixels under the player, because that will still let us not get stuck in the ground, and it won't get caught on the bottom of a platform anymore, causing the warp. But again, you might want to tweak it more if you have different jump and speed settings. So here we go. Just those little changes and we've fixed up our map collision glitches. And hopefully this video helps you understand how to have more control over the hitboxes yourself to change things even more if you want. Now that that's settled, the next video will be similar to give you more understanding and control over the physics and the movement of your player. We are Nerdy Teachers. We will answer questions in the comments and subscribe to tell us you want more.